Gloria, can you give us some examples for your own experience when you have this work in practice, in fact?
Thank you very much. As you've heard, I'm Mrs. Gloria Pekani, and what has excited me is Rob talking about the smallholder farmers. That's my first love. I was very excited. He's talking about 100,000. We have about 70,000 totally registered and verified farmers in 2 years. So we are excited about that. And in the vegetable and beans, the model we have always used and how we ensure that there's inclusivity is to do the demonstrations. What actually works is to do demonstrations working directly with the community, with trusted community leaders. That works well, and it has worked very, very, very well. We have 370 demonstration sites, and working with partnership with SEAT that gives us the training, and to ensure that it also brings revenue. We have 440 community agribusiness advisors. And that's how they also generate revenue, because they get commission from assisting farmers to ensure that they bring more volume and ensuring that they are grading the right vegetables and beans. So they are also agripreneurs. One other area that is a big challenge that we are winning is that the seed system, like my madam said here, it's a challenge. And the awareness campaign is through demonstration and the right seed that is consumer demanded, marketable, demanded, that they are able to trade regionally. It's not just trade, it's what they are eating. If they enjoy it, that seed moves within the region. So I hope I'm answering your question.
No, it's great.
So you must stop me, because me, I can continue all day.
Thank you, Gloria.
You must stop me, because for me, I'm very passionate about what we have won. When like now we did almost 4 hectares of real seed material through SEAT to bring it to the farmers. They have no understanding of the right seed. So taking that information to the farmers is absolutely critical. It not only brings revenue, it brings nutrition as well, and in groupings, because they cannot do it alone. They do it in association, unions, and cooperatives. So that is an exciting part of it for the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you very much. Let's welcome Eliud Birachi. Eliud Birachi is a project leader and market specialist at PABRA. PABRA and the Alliance in Kigali, Rwanda. Welcome, Eliud. Eliud, beans have a special place both in human and animal nutrition and in sustainable farming system. There have been successes over the year, but there clearly still a lot to do. How can we use your research product, like new varieties and pre-based product, flours, pre-cooked beans, etc., to attract investment in the sector? Big question, no? You better give the mic to Eliud.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. And that question goes to the center of the issues that affect these value chains. I'll say the beans and, of course, the vegetables. These are nutrition-sensitive commodities. So, over time, we've had innovations. I think you've just mentioned very well. New varieties, high iron beans, for example. We also have, of course, others that are climate resilient. And beyond this, we have those commodities, the products that are consumer demanded, but convenient. For example, pre-cooked beans, these are recent new products, innovations. Others like the bean composite flours, highly nutritive, good for different consumers, children, women, and all these. So these are innovations, products of research. However, one thing that is common for all these is that they need investments. They need investments to sustain them, to promote them, to get them to be used widely. So what kind of investments are then needed? Some of the investments are basically public investments, and the public investments could be in the form of good policies, policy framework. Taking a good example is school feeding. School feeding relies on dry beans.
Yeah.
But with a small policy investment and engagement, we could have some more convenient products that are climate friendly. For example, pre-cooked beans that need very short time to cook. And even, of course, vegetables require very short time to cook. So this will be like public sector, improving the infrastructure in the production areas, in the production hubs. That is an investment from the public. But we also need the private sector to invest for sustainability. Now, for the private sector to invest, they have to be convinced that there is money to make. There is a business case. So for this case, then these commodities are known to be one of the most widely traded.
Is there money to make in this sector? Really?
Yes, so there is money to make in these sectors, and using business cases which have been demonstrated across a number of countries in Africa, it has been demonstrated that businesses can actually invest, but they lack the information, they lack the exposure, they lack some levels of technical assistance, which research and extension can play a very major role. And we've seen very good examples of these investors. I think we can quote more than 100 businesses engaged in investing in these commodities across the different countries. So there is need for money. Financing is very key. Impact investing is very key. Development partners are very key in this investment process to ensure that these innovative products and technologies reach the users.
Thank you, Eliud. I think you are not encouraging our panelists by applauding them. Eliud, my next question will be, why are you promoting new nutrient iron zinc rich beans instead of promoting eating more beans or more greens?
That is interesting. So all of these commodities are very nutritious.
Okay.
But there are some differentials in them. Now, for the common beans, nutrient-rich or high iron beans, these have higher levels of nutrients than the regular beans. It's also stable in most of the consumption food systems. Mm-hmm. It's stable, so it means that consumers will be exposed to these foods. So if they are exposed to more nutritious foods, then they benefit nutritionally. But also not to forget that vegetables go hand in hand with beans. And I think that's why we now need to see this made actively promoted together. We have been promoting beans because that has been the main turf. But now we're looking at these kind of partnerships to go with a food basket approach and not a single commodity.
Thank you, Eliud, for this explanation. I now want to address to the audience, to you, I mean, in light of everything you have heard so far, are there any reaction, comment, or suggestion that could enrich us further? Don't be shy. Yeah, where is the mic?
Yeah, good morning. My name is Dr. Bernard Kochola. I'm the regional manager for iTech Seed International for East and South Africa. I have had very interesting discussion, starting from my friend
Gabriel.
Yes. Guys, the food systems in Africa is the best, but it's very complex. And you have heard that lady talking about how to convince that small farmer to accept the seed. I've been in seed for some time. The problem is how to partner the exotic seed and our traditional seed. For the business purpose, you'll tell them the food system is all about hybrid. True or false? Because they need to come and buy again. They need to come and buy again. But remember, this is a farmer who wants the seed for his consumption and surplus for sale. So my comment will be, can we build capacity on training on seed? 2, can we also still respect our traditional seed and tell the farmer the best way for conservation? Thank you.
Thank you for this point. Another reaction? A comment, then suggestion? Okay, let's welcome Dr. Ndaniku Sonyigbe. Is a reaction? Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My
Morning.
name is Monica Murata. I'm with the World Vegetable Center. I just wanted to add to what he has mentioned regarding the seed systems. I think we really need to strengthen our seed systems. We know that farmers, they know what they want. If you look at beans, for example, you find maybe the ladies, they are saying that we want a variety that matures earlier. The men on the other hand will be saying, no, we want a variety that we can quickly sell and make profit. So those preferences, they might be different there. And then I was just wondering, to what extent are we involving the farmers in participatory research so that we come up with seed technologies that we know they are not going to sit on the shelves, they are going to be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ndaniku, it seems that seed is one of our big challenges here, right?
Yes.
What to do?
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. I think you have set the scene very well, and from all the interventions, I think seed is coming up. So taking from the last 2 questions, I think there is a lot that is needed to be done because seed systems are quite weak when we talk about vegetables especially, and more importantly, what we call indigenous or traditional vegetables. So yeah, if I want to elaborate further on the question by the doctor, I think there are many things that can be done. And why? Because it all starts with seeds, and also good seed, not just seed. And as a seed sector players, we have big roles, whether we are farmers, researchers, private sector, or even academia. We all have a play so that we make seed available for farmers. So from the gene bank perspective, I think number 1 is to make the diversity, to collect and make diversity available. Without any diversity, there will not be breeding, and there will not be improved varieties or new varieties that can meet farmers' challenges. One challenge when we talk about challenges is climate change. Climate change is real. Whatever schools we come from, climate change is real, and farmers are feeling it. Anywhere we interact with farmers, they bring that up every time. What kind of seed are you proposing so that with the little rain that we are getting, we can harvest something at least to eat or feed our families? So that is number 1, and we need to safeguard that diversity for today's agriculture, but also tomorrow. It's not just about ourselves, but our kids and our grandchildren. That
Next generation.
Exactly, for the next generation. I will give you facts about the seed or vegetable biodiversity in Africa, more or less we know about 400 different species which have been used by Africans as vegetables. But as I'm speaking here, I think we have less than a quarter of that diversity which is conserved and seeds readily available to support production systems. So that is one key factor. Globally, we know that there are more than 1,000 of different vegetable species. But how familiar are we with this diversity? If we ask the question in this audience, how many vegetable species do you know? I think we'll talk about tomato, carrot, cabbage, and that's all. But there are other hundreds which are not known, which are not used. And I think if I quote Darwin, Charles Darwin, which is a famous one in that field, it's about using it or losing it. And when you are not using, you will just lose them. And we are losing a high number of species every decade in that sector. So we need to strengthen our own capacities, but also we need investment. Investment in gene banks in Africa so that we can collect and save our genetic materials before they go extinct.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you. Let's come back to your daily work. How does your work improve the chance for future resilience of smallholder farmers facing climate change? You mentioned it already, but concretely.
Yes, concretely, what the World Vegetable Center is doing is that we believe that gene banks should not continue to be museums. It means that the materials should be used. By whom? By all the seed sector actors, starting with farmers. And the gene bank that I lead, we specialize in traditional African vegetables. That means that those are still called orphan crops. By orphan crops, we mean that they have been neglected by research, basically, not by farmers. So what we do to enhance utilization is that we develop programs and projects that will support farmers' access to quality seed for the materials which are not yet in the market. For instance, we can talk about jutumelo. We are in Tanzania, they call it mlenda. I've not seen a seed company being breeding for that crop. So what we do for such kind of crop is to, through collaboration with NGOs and national partners, to develop what we call a seed kit program. And in that seed kit, it is about to give farmers, I will repeat myself, access to those seeds, and then they will evaluate them in the real farm conditions, and also give feedback to the gene bank and to breeders on what performs well and under which condition. And it has been fantastic to realize that there are some materials from both gene bank accessions, but also advanced lines that are being developed by the World Vegetable Center, that some of them are thriving very well to meet current climatic conditions, but also projections in the future climate. So these are some kind of activities that we are doing to take one step further and get prepared against the future climate challenges.
Very, very interesting. But my last question will be, how do we get the public to better understand all this, and maybe not only the public, the policy makers, how do we get them to invest in it?
Yes, it is very simple to get investors to understand. I think in every country, it is very obvious. If we take the last 4 or 5 decades, the proportion or the prevalence of non-communicable diseases has increased dramatically.
Yeah.
I will not take any country, it is all the countries. And they have their origin in poor consumption patterns. We are, increasing our sugar consumption, carbohydrate-rich foods, ugali, roots and tubers, but neglecting vegetables. And it has found that, and that I'm quoting the Global Nutrition Report of 2022, that in sub-Saharan Africa, our vegetable consumption is below 40% of the recommended level by WHO and FAO. That is 240 grams of vegetables. But when you combine with fruit, they said it should be 400 grams. So we are below our daily consumption requirement. And that is...
And what are we eating?
We are just eating...
Junk food?
Yes, junk food. We are drinking more soda and meat, red meat. Yeah, that is our consumption pattern today. And that is also linked with the homogenization of diets. So we want to live, all of us, we want to live on the same way. So copying food patterns from other areas is increasing. And also that also affects the agricultural policy. Farmers are growing what the government have put as set up as priority. In many countries is cash crop. And there's a lot of government investment in cash crops, neglecting fruits and vegetables and also beans. So it is clear that we need to also invest. Investment, I think my friends mentioned already, investment is not just money, but we need to invest in policy changes. We need to put in our national policies more, incentives for farmers to produce nutritious food. And we also need to encourage public procurement of vegetables and fruits. For instance, when we refer to national school feeding programs, maybe governments need to put more money on adding vegetables to the meals of the children. And it has been demonstrated that, if you want to improve futures nutrition in Africa or elsewhere in the world, start with the children. Maybe myself, I'm grown too much already, but my passion, I think it comes from my education.
Yeah.
I was educated, I was raised by my grandmother, not by my mother. So I remember the vegetable that she was cooking for myself. Many of them, my mother herself, she doesn't know how to cook them. So that is to show that investment in children also is very important and key if we want to change future food systems in Africa.
Lucky of you, Dr. Ndaniku. Ladies and gentlemen, I need your reaction or comment. We are not eating well. Comment, reaction, please. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Frederick Aziaya from Vihiga, western part of Kenya. And I have a concern on whatever he has put across in terms of the seeds that we use. And it's more of a question and a concern at the same time, because you are dealing with seeds, meaning improving those seeds, the genetic makeup of the seeds to fit a certain environment. But I believe whatever we have, we haven't exhausted the regenerative activities that can counter the climate change. Because if we exhaust these regenerative activities, when it comes to drought, we are able to manage that drought through regenerative activities. Because from where I come from, if I get the hybrid seed, especially for jute mallow, not jute mallow, the clotolaria, I might have suppressed cells compared to the local seeds that I use. Because the local seeds are bitter. And the locals believe that when this vegetable is bitter, then the medicinal value is higher. So when you reduce the bitterness, you are reducing the medicinal value of that product. So I believe if we work well on the regenerative activities, we haven't even reached a quarter of our potential, our production potential. So I would encourage in regenerative activities or practices for us to counter the climate change. Then after we have exhausted that bit and we believe we need more, is when we come and change to the genetic makeup of that, not really change of the genetic makeup, the improvement of the genetic makeup to fit the needs of farmers at that particular point. But for now, personally, I'm working on regenerative activities to increase production. So as the gene bank dealers, what are you doing when you are improving these seeds that we are producing? What are you doing to ensure that we are maintaining the medicinal properties that are in that crop? Thank you.
I need women reaction. They are not reacting. What happened? Reaction, please. Comment, suggestion. Okay. Who to answer his question? Dr. Ndaniku?
Yes, I can start, and others will also come to rescue me if I fail.
Okay, you will not fail, don't worry.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Mr. I didn't
Get the name?
Get the name, but from Vihiga.
From Kenya, yeah.
Yes, from Vihiga Farms. I think that is very interesting and encouraging about what farmers are doing. So to answer your question, yes, it is very important to keep nutritional qualities while improving vegetable crops. Myself, I'm not a breeder, but I will attempt to give my perspective. What we do currently at the World Vegetable Center, especially in the field of traditional vegetables, it is about developing open pollinated varieties. And while doing selection, we also consider the nutritional content. So the genetic improvement also goes with nutritional profiling. So while retaining the best performing or superior genotypes, we also consider that they also have to be high in nutrition. If we take, for instance, and I think the Amaranth breeder is in this in this room, when we take Amaranth breeding, for instance, we target high iron content, zinc content, vitamins, and we make sure that they make sure, when I say we, I speak as well Vegetable Center, but when they say they, I mean the breeders. They make sure that those improved varieties still maintain high level of nutrient content when I refer to what I already mentioned. So yes, this is a big concern because we are breeding vegetables, and we should not end up in the next decade or so that these materials which have been developed need biofortification again before they can meet nutritional challenges. So that's what I can quickly answer from your question.
Thank you. Let's welcome now Paul Newman. Paul Newman is the Executive Director of Sustainable Development Goal to an Advocacy Hub. Am I right, Paul?
You are.
Welcome, Paul. So many organizations seem to be working on the similar thing as will be seen this week here at this forum. How can we strengthen partnership and create more complementarity across existing initiatives, according to you?
So thank you, and it's great to hear the conversation that we're having today. I think the first part of this question is to see the food system as a system. Mm-hmm. So this is not just about agriculture, it's about the whole system. So there's a range of elements that need to be taken into account. And so my understanding, and there's farmers here that will maybe correct me, but people who are farming will grow things that people will buy. And so we have to create demand at the same time. Demand onto the things that we need to be eating. We have a crisis around our climate, around our health, and we are not hitting the mark for everyone, everywhere. And this is particularly challenging in parts of rural communities, parts across this continent. Yeah. And so this is very critical for us to act with urgency, but also to think about how we work together to prioritize and bring together solutions. So I think it's really, I just want to encourage and applaud the AGRF for this food systems conversation and trying to open it up. Back some years, it was more agriculture focused only, but now they're acknowledging we need the scientists, we need chefs, we need
everybody.
We need everybody. And we need to be thinking about this. But that means we also need to build partnerships. Vegetable consumption across is not at the level that it needs to be. So we have to ask why. We have to start to think about, is the marketing, is the demand going together? People make choices on what they eat, in my opinion, based on three things: on cost, convenience, and taste. Is the price right? If they go to the market, the price has gone 100%, maybe they can't buy. Convenient. We've talked about pre-cooked, different elements. We need to be thinking about these things. I've been to communities where there is no firewood left. They have to think, they have to walk a lot further to get that firewood. So we have to think about new technologies, ways to improve cooking times, to think about these kinds of things. And then taste. Everyone from every different part, every different city has a certain thing they like to eat. And we have to think about that in the way that we're putting together solutions. And so for me, partnerships like this around greens and beans, I think is absolutely critical for us to think about how do we invest and take that forward in an integrated way that looks across the ecosystem.
Okay, thank you, Paul. What do you suggest in the future? Do we need, according to you, a new platform?
Yeah,
of,
look,
a sort of common phone?
Yeah, I mean, we've been looking at food systems, and we're very involved in the UN Food Systems Summit and many of the conversations over the last 5 years. We're halfway through. We're about to go to New York for halfway point on the SDGs. We are not moving fast enough. We are getting some significant wins, but we're still not, we're failing many people. So in terms of moving forward, we need to think about some big bets. And this is where the investment comes in, big bets that we place. Greens and beans are at the center of that. There's no debate on any science that this is an important thing for nutrition, for biodiversity. We're working on a campaign at the moment around called Beans is How, and it's an example of how you can build a coalition. We launched a theory of change just this last week. There's a number of scientists, even in the room, people like JC, who are a part of the science advisory group, that if you go to Beans is How, you can download the report, but it has a strategy that has been built around how in 5 years can we think about doubling consumption. It looks at a couple of different things. It's about building a stakeholder mapping, bringing the stakeholders together at the local level, then creating demand and shifting behaviors through public engagement. And this is different depending where you are. But you need to think about how we bring in influencers. Where do people find, what do you look at on your phone when you're thinking, when you're thinking about food? What is influencing you? And are we engaging those people? Many chefs, many celebrities. There's people on TikTok telling people about nutrition. Do they have any information? Can we partner with them? Can we help them? And then we need to think about the enabling environment, which has been here. We've been talking about policies, and our fellow panelists have talked about this. We need to be thinking about how do we make that enabling environment move forward? How do we support data and innovation through groups in the CGIAR and the ecosystem? How do we increase market financing support to get things to market? And then how do we help really get product innovation in as well? So lots of different areas here, but I do think there's a way to move this forward, but we need to have lots of different bets. And it's not just one, it's International Year of Millets. You know, I was just seeing the amaranth there. There's all these investments need to come, and then we need to partner them in a recipe that puts forward a series of solutions.
Do you personally eat vegetable and beans twice a week?
I eat twice a day. And I think your ambition, we need to go higher, because to me, beans need to be, you can have beans every day, no problem. If we're going to double, if we all just double, that's a start. And then you influence people. You start to think differently about whether it's for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner. In vegetables, we should be eating 8 to 9 vegetables on a plate. There is so many varieties, so many different options there.
And so different taste.
The flavor and the taste. There's chefs here. You come to the Culinary Village. We'll make you a dish.
Thank you, Paul. It seemed that Gloria wanted to react. Where is the mic? Gloria?
Hello.
Okay, go on.
Hello. Yes, I've heard what Mr. Newman said about cost, convenience, and taste. Let me tell you something. At the end of the day, Our farmers are the ones who will eat those beans. They're the ones who will grow those beans, and they need to also make money. If they're not going to make money, they will not be growing that bean, or they will not be growing that vegetable. So it's critical to take that information downstream to the farmers, information about what is out there. What do these vegetables do for us as a people? We will grow them if they're doing well in our nutrition, but if they're going to make us money and trade within, it's 100%. So that information, how we do it is through demonstration, bringing the communities together through cooperatives, union associations, and seeing, farmers need to see, touch, and feel, and taste. They don't know another language. I've been on the ground for the last 3 years. That's what the farmer needs to see, feel, and touch. We communicate through the multi-stakeholder platform right now. And we are winning big because now we are telling the scientists what to do. We like this bean. This vegetable is very, very nice. It's high yielding. So we are happy with the scientists, the work they're doing. This vegetable is good. This bean is good. But it's not marketable. Why is it not marketable? It changes color. Can you make it much better? So I think we need to just get the information down to the actual people who will actually bring the yield high. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you very much. Jean-Claude Rubiogo, he's bean program leader and PABRA director. Jean-Claude is a co-chair of this morning side event. What is your feeling of the discussion since we start this morning, Jean-Claude?
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, as indicated, Jean-Claude Rubiogo. I'm the director of Pan-African Bean Research Alliance. You can see why PABRA here. They say that beans is a vegetable, but also vegetables are beans, right? Yes. I'm also the leader of the bean program. Thanks to moderator. Yeah, I just want really to give an insight from the discussions from here. Yeah, I think Rob really mentioned how these two crops go together. Just to give a story, Rob, I was in Mount Kenya region of Kenya on the slope, and I visited a farmer to introduce climbing beans there. And he was able, both the husband and wife, they had a very good climbing beans. They are selling one seed, what she was talking about, 1 shilling. So because you can, climbing beans, you can triple the yield, and this allows many other farmers to increase their productivity rather than selling, because people didn't know very well the crop, but they started by selling 1 seed, 1 shilling. 100 grain, 100 shillings. And she was able to make money by also other people adopting. So we need to look at how seed systems is sorted. I think really seed systems becomes important. How do we make sure that the variety we produce go to the community, working with the local producers, working with the seed company, we're not looking them out, but how do we link the informal, the local seed systems, and then the formal? That will be very important. And we have been able to do that in beans, working on these too. I think that came very well. Another one which is very important, then the same farmer I visited, though they are working on beans, but they are providing services to the community, the vegetable seedlings. So rather than everybody having a nursery, these guys specialized in nurseries. So they produce nursery and they sell seedlings to the community. You can see how the two crops, I went there for beans, but I found also they're doing vegetables. So we need to work more together. Yeah, that's very important. And I really also looking for something which didn't come up, but I think very important, the youth. I really think that the vegetables I've seen really the youth getting interested. We are trying to get in the beans, but I think vegetables, you have a very good really opportunity to get the youth, because you can really along the value chain. The seedlings is a very short duration, and then you can get more money. So that's something which really need to drop. Investment, Eliud talked about. So we have seen that once you have this marketable variety Gloria is talking about, this pulls many other investors, not just the grain traders, there are service providers who come in, there are mechanization which come in, there is a seed which comes in, there is a processing which comes in. So the market pools all other services, and that's the way to go. And you can talk about the regenerative agriculture my friend was talking about. Unless there is the money behind, nobody will do regenerative agriculture. It has to be incentives behind all that, and I think that is coming very well. The food systems of Paul, wow, that's very, very useful. Don't just look at crop production. You look at what does it do along the value chain, also in the health of people and who benefit and who is not left behind. That's something we need to work out. So we are also working on short duration varieties in the farms. We have seen that due to climate change, people don't want to go for 4-5 months of beans. They're looking for 2 months because they need money, and they also the weather is not on their side. So that's something. And then short cooking time too. Not only the pre-cooked beans that you talked about, but also short cooking time. Rather than 2 hours, we are now almost there. Probably in the next couple of the 2 years, we may be able to get to reduce by 30% that's cooking time. So that really shows that yes, there's a hope. There is a lot of things we can do, but unless there's a variety, go to the farmer. And there's incentives, we cannot make a difference.
Jean-Claude,
otherwise, I really...
Yes, what key, that will be my question, what key policy changes do you think we need? Public procurement for vegetable and beans for schools, or you think we need just vegetable and bean seed system? What do we need? Or maybe we need both of them?
Both of them, they go together because they provide, though we say beans is a superfood. That's what we usually see. Beans is a superfood, is really, but we need vegetables in several ways. There's the minerals, there's the vitamins, there's several complementarity between the two crops as a diet. But also look at the farmer, how they can diversify what Rob was talking about, the resilience of the farmer. So the resilience is that if they can get cash, or money or any other or food and every week and every 2 weeks, and because vegetables you can harvest continuously, beans probably you can, except maybe the green beans, the French beans. Otherwise, so if we can have a policy support to introduce this food in the vulnerable young generation, as the school they talked about, that's something we can do. And then how do we build the seed systems? Because again, the seed producers, they can sell both. Rather than selling beans alone, seed, they can also sell vegetables as well. So there's a lot of policies we can, policy on nutrition, policy on seed systems, policy on other input supply. I think that's something we can. Research also, I think, Rose, we didn't forget you. Without the right products, we can't make a difference.
That's right.
We need to start by the right product, where you engage the users so that that's the product they are looking for. So research to get the right variety, the right product and technology is very important. That's a policy issue we need to invest in.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean-Claude Rubiogo. Let's now try to build, to retain key policy messages on key policy changes. Rob Bertrand, what could be the key policy changes or key policy message we need to retain?
So I'm going to turn to my friend Tom Reardon again about this. And as Paul pointed out, and Gloria is an example of, what we're talking about this morning is not just the production, although that is critical, but this whole ecosystem of businesses and services and that connects the farms to the fork, to the consumer, wherever she is, and back again. So in terms of what we need, Tom Reardon does a lot of work where he does surveys across Africa with many colleagues across the continent. And when they talk to this huge, what he calls the hidden middle, companies like Gloria's, there's a very vibrant business ecosystem out there, small and medium enterprises. And what do they want? They want roads, they want grid power, they want wholesale markets which are often not on the radar of the national officials, but if you go to the cities and towns, they know them. For example, here in Dar, I think there are 24 or 25 wholesale markets. And that's where the vegetables are coming in. And of course the beans too. I mean, it's not just, but that is a critical piece of it. And the last piece is a very interesting one. It's a policy one. And that is they want to be free from bribes and being shaken down by when they're moving, when they're transporting, and so forth. So there's a policy dimension, there's an investment dimension in terms of what kinds of market infrastructure is available, and of course there's just the progress that's being made with respect to roads, especially rural roads, that reach more and more, make more and more smallholders able to access markets, and then also grid, which is critical for cooling, preserving. So especially for vegetables, beans, I think we're a little bit better off because they're a little less perishable, which is a great thing, but they have to be stored carefully. They have to be protected from insects. So anyway, those are a few thoughts that I've gotten from others.
Thank you, Rob Bertrand. Dr. Marco Verperes, what to do exactly to go quickly and well, according to you?
Well, let me first build on what Rob said, because I think vegetables and beans has a big difference in terms of perishability. So when you talk about vegetables, you really need to ensure quick turnaround time, right? Quick turnaround. So one thing we are doing in several projects in East Africa and West Africa is think of aggregation centers. Establish aggregation centers where farmer cooperatives come together and they are able to aggregate, clean, sort, label, and get things out. And usually these aggregation centers have also a cooling place, which is not that expensive. You can trick an air conditioning unit down to cooling to 6 degrees. So with a small investment, you have an aggregation center, and from there, things will tick. You are going to be able to harmonize production and marketing. So this is so important, right? The other thing I want to say, what is the big thing now? For me, it's much more attention for nutritious foods, vegetables, fruits, and pulses in national policies. Like if you open a policy document for research and development, any country in Africa is full of staples, and tomato, onion, or pulses may be on page 245 or something like that, right? The other thing is that if you think of policymakers usually think of export. When you think of vegetables, they want to export to Europe, like snow pea or French bean, right? That's okay. But on the other hand, there is a huge pressing thing to be done here is to make sure we can provide proper nutrition to so many people. And again, what I was saying, this urbanization going on, Dar es Salaam is a case in itself. This place is growing like crazy. How are we going to make sure people will have nutritious food in Dar es Salaam and in other cities? That has to be an absolute priority. We have to act now. So to me, key message is get nutritious food on the political agenda immediately. That means investing in education, in research, in infrastructure, in school meal programs, of course, because that is going to trigger demand. And one way or the other, especially with vegetables, you have to get it right from the supply side and the demand side. You need to produce what you can sell, not you try to sell what you happen to produce, right? So, because it's so perishable. So how do you get demand and supply in connection? And then the policy issues. And we are way behind. That is what I'm worried about. So this is, for me, a key message. A wake-up call for AGRF and the world. We have to break through this bastion of staples that AGRF is, okay? All right.
And where are you? I'm not done with Dr. Marco. Where are you with eating vegetable and beans twice a week?
Twice a week, Marcel. Where are you coming from? No, you have to consume, well, the optimal level for vegetables is 360 grams per day. Like the minimum is 240. What is 240? It's 3 lemonade glasses full, okay? If you have a lemonade glass, you put your cherry tomatoes, another lemonade glass, you put some green vegetables. 3 of those lemonade glasses what you need to eat every day. Who does that here? Yeah? Who does that here? Shame on you. That's nothing, but the optimal level is 360, right? So that's a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, and pulses every day you should eat protein, right? Any other question?
No, thank you, Dr. Marco. No, thank you. Paul Newman, key messages, key policy changes. We are building, we are trying to summarize our talk.
Yeah, look, I mean, from my perspective, I think it needs to be a real focus on how do we look at those key drivers that are going to really pull through. And so I think school meals, which has been mentioned, is a very key one for this space, because I think it creates a stable foundation for farmers to then create demand. But it also, if done properly in the right way, can also build a flavor and taste for kids going forward, a perception. But I think we do need to be very careful there, because I do think there is many challenges in what are the daily recommendations from different agencies, from different governments. I was talking to somebody in one country and they were saying it's 1 part beans to 4 parts maize is what one agency is doing in the school feeding. But they said if you look at that on a plate, the kids look at it going, what? It should be more like 1-to-1, vegetables and beans and then maize. So I think there's a lot of work to still happen in kind of really working on that, and I think it's working on those nutrition levers. And I think coming in on a food system perspective, not just an agriculture perspective, is very important to engage Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, also Executive Office, to really kind of look across at the integrated approach. I think when we think in silos, we end up with silos. And so we have to break that. I think that there is also about the accessibility and affordability question we need to be really addressing. And then I think with climate impacts, the kind of acceleration towards more water-friendly, shorter growing times, what JC mentioned about, 2 months, these kinds of things are going to be absolutely critical for the future in an unpredictable climate that we're heading into.
Thank you. Gloria, message, key message.
I have one message. Take the information to us farmers. Bring the information. That vegetable, what does it give us? What will it put for us? Bottom line, show us what is it. That I think for me, message is we need to take that message to the farmers, the knowledge aspect of it.
Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. Gabriel Rugalema is our chief lawn. What will be the key messages of World Vegetable Center to the AGRF community, according to you?
Hello.
Let's say the main messages.
No, I wasn't really prepared for that, but I think the messages have already come out. For me, probably one thing. We are here telling others, messages to others. What about messages to ourselves? Yeah? For the first time, I think we are here as Greens and Beans Alliance, but it shouldn't be a one-off. If we sit here, talk about all these important points, and then disappear into the thin air, nobody is really going to push our agenda.
That's right.
So how do we organize ourselves? Yeah? We shouldn't tell others. Probably they have already heard, but they're not going to hear it anymore if we are not there to push. So for me, is how do we then move from here in the future to influence the AGRF, to influence policies of government,
investors,
regional bodies, UN organization, and indeed investors. That's the elephant in the room, and that's probably one of the things we need really to think about and strategize and organize ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. Last but not the least, I would like to invite Maya Rajasekaram. She's Managing Director of Alliance of Biodiversity International and International Center of Tropical Agriculture. I better say SIAT. Welcome, Maya. Move forward, Maya, because I need your closing remark. Yes, come here.
I think it's thank you so much for everybody, and it's a wonderful comments from everybody, and we are basically co-creating a vision.
Maya, how are you about eating vegetable and beans?
Often eat, I wouldn't say, I think Marco called shame on all of us. I belong to that group, but I could potentially do better, but do more beans than meat, and but of course I eat everything.
Great, thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Maya.
We are basically co-creating a vision for complementarity of beans and greens together. So I think this is fantastic opportunity. Very hard to summarize all the wonderful comments from everybody, but I think what I'm seeing is that I think we are building on decades of research and network that World Vegetable Center and partners have, and also the Seattle Alliance have, and the CGIA has here. So we are building on a great legacy. And I think this opportunity to kind of, break the silos and bringing the two together. So from a key messages that I'm hearing here is that, Rob put it very nicely. I think beans and greens are the vanguard to transform African food system. And I think that's amazing to hear that framing, big framing, and we need to get actions towards that. They are highly complementary. They are the nutrition powerhouse. Beans provide incredible nutrition and dietary fiber, and vegetables provide micronutrients that are absolutely essential for removing or kind of protective foods in terms of reducing our exposure to a non-communicable disease. 1 in a 5th death in the world happens because of we are eating less and less of the new protective foods. So very high complementarity in terms of getting a balanced diet in our plate. So we should also be embracing that. And the resilience is another aspect. Beans produce an incredibly good source of, climate action. We are looking at better protein sources, plant-based protein. So a lot of, climate action by eating more plant-based protein. And also vegetables that are incredibly important because short duration as the climate is going through ups and downs and very highly variable climate. I think we should be bringing those two complementary together. The third is about livelihoods. Nothing of this will happen. The incentives are incredibly important for people to actually start cultivating the food, and actually farmers need to see the incentives. So there are incentives from multiple different angles, incentive from how you produce it, and also incentive Paul mentioned very much, if you don't eat it, it's very hard to, so really creating that pull from the market in terms of how do you do that. So for me, the 3 key messages that I would like to summarize in a very brief way from a very rich dialogue here is to actually investing in multiple different dimensions, investing in advocacy, starting with creating the demand. And I think we should be doing much, much more. It's incredible to see the work of Paul Newman and the advocacy, how they do it, how they have the convening power to bring some incredible influences around the table to increase. So we should be into, beans and greens, and maybe we should piggyback on this incredible movement on beans as how doubling bean production in 5 years' time, and also think maybe complementary, how do you build in key messages for vegetables as well would be an important opportunity that we could be taking. And the other one is about policy. We talked about policy as very different public policy in investing in start young. We all end up eating something that we liked when we were children. So start young. How do we really get more beans and vegetables in the plates and school feeding programs? And private policy. How do we build more business cases for private sector to come in and invest in it? And I think the technical capacity is going to be very important. How do we invest more in innovation and research, conserving what is in the gene bank and really making sure that gene bank materials get to the field, and also at the same time we continuously collect before these incredible materials are lost from our environment. Investing in new product development. We need to have products that are cooking in a very small, reducing cooking time. As urbanization goes, people have less and less time in kitchen. So really important to kind of investing in those product innovations, investing in research, investing in seed system, really building that, making sure that short duration varieties, and how do we make sure that farmers have the ability to get those short duration varieties and providing that supply coming in. So invest in multiple dimensions, from public policy, private investment, in research and advocacy is, in some sense, it's all one investment, because we do less in general in terms of communication advocacy, but should be doing much more in that. And then we should invest in capacity development. Gloria and others mentioned about how do we incredibly need to build on the community leaders to really understand, we need to have community champions to kind of take the key messages out there. So, we hear that investment in multiple dimensions would be needed to kind of really take this platform opportunity forward in putting greens and the beans, or beans and greens together, and very complementary, and I think nobody would disagree the need for it and the complementarity of it. I think we should celebrate that. And I think this is a fantastic opportunity that we can all take forward and build on the tremendous momentum of research and innovation and the network that we have built over several days, including those sitting in the room and several thousands that are not in this room. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Maya. Ladies and gentlemen, you see that the necessary transformation in food system we all desire offer new opportunities, but also create new challenges that I'm sure we can and we must address together and fight together. Thank you for giving a valuable part of your time to this important matter. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Thank you.